Chapter 1547, The Elder Council, Finale. You mentioned that the Earth Emperor position will be a way to condense the soul quintessence? Hell Judgment asked. That's my theory, Wang Wei nodded. In that case, I want the sect's support to compete for the position. Are you sure? You saw my deduction on the limits and restrictions on that path, Wang Wei said. Many people are hopeful for the future, thinking they can one day become a primordial chaos saint. However, I am a realist. I know the barrier for the next realm will be 1,000,000 times more challenging than the Paragon realm. Hell Judgment allowed his words to simmer. Will it be easy to enter the next realm? No one dares say that. Many people are optimistic, but realistically speaking, the number of people in the room qualified for that level can only be counted on one hand. I understand my limit, Hell Judgment continued. His words contained no self-deprecation, just assurance in who he was as a person. This path is my best chance at transcendence. His words plundered the room into a deep silence for a few minutes. He forced many people to re-evaluate their future and how they can survive or thrive during the disaster, or the transcendent age. If my theory is correct, Wang Wei said, heavily emphasizing the if part. It will be in the sect's favor to have someone controlling one of these positions, especially the one in the Eternal Ascension world. So, I support you. And as fate would have it, someone with deep connection to me and the Wang clan may be the one chosen to be the Netherworld Emperor. If they succeed, your chances of becoming the Earth Emperor should increase. Hell Judgment's eyes shine. The Netherworld Emperor? Who? I can't say any more since it's not guaranteed. Plus, it's not wise to get into the Yama King's affairs at this current state. I understand, Hell Judgment nodded. Since the sect is supporting people to compete for these positions, can we receive support for competing in other regions? Someone asked. According to Grand Elder Wang Wei's prediction, there will be 5 regions: Central, North, South, East, and West. A few people without confidence also wanted to try to compete in other regions. I understand everybody's enthusiasm, and we will support capable individuals to compete for these positions. But, don't forget we are still acting on a theoretical level. I don't want you to get too excited, and the information is wrong, Qiyuan warned. That is true, but we can start preparing. Elder Wang Wei, do you have any theories on how the tests for these positions will be conducted? Yan Shurong asked. He felt these karmic positions might be an excellent backup plan for him. Although he was confident in himself, he also wanted a way out in case the normal transcendent path did not work. Unfortunately, there is too little information to go on. However, we may get more information from Li Jun once he returns, Wang Wei said. Most of the people in the room were familiar with the name Li Jun, as he was famous for being one of the 3 original clan stars. Wang Wei was already an anomaly, but people were shocked when Yan Liling, the new ascended, was granted the position of the Yan clan matriarch after entering the Empyrean realm peak. That decision itself is not shocking, as it is common to give the position to talented people to ensure their luck is entangled with the sect or the clan's destiny. The shocking part was the rumor that Wang Wei and Yan Liling would remain in their positions until they became primordial saints. Moreover, they also heard rumors that Li Jun would receive the same treatment once he arrived. These people were not stupid and understood that these rumors were just a way to prepare everyone else for when the news was officially announced. As such, Li Jun has been in the upper echelons of the sect for a while now. And when is he showing up? That's hard to deduce or divine since Samsara currently protects his information, Wang Wei replied truthfully. Is that so? Yan Shurong sighed softly. Can you at least give us a time reference or a hint on when we can have more faith in this theory? Another Grand Elder asked. Hell Judgment's words were a wake-up call to many of them who were still living on the confidence from the ultimate taboo. These people might have been prideful enough to refuse a flawed method, or most likely failed even to get one, but a restrictive path of transcendence was still acceptable. According to my calculation, the transcendent age will officially begin when the first primordial chaos saint from our world is born during the catastrophe. Wang Wei's words made these elders squint. His words hold many truths. The birth of the first quintessence realm powerhouse will officially elevate the Eternal Ascension world into the destiny center of the Chaos universe, which is the ideal time to end the Paragon Age and begin the Transcendent Age. Once that happens, there should be rumors or signs about a new change to the Chaos universe. We might also notice more appearances or interventions of the cardinals. That's when we'll know if my theory is correct. We don't have as much time as I thought, Yan Shurong muttered. Although the ultimate taboo was a failure, it also served as a valuable learning experience. Yan Shurong knew that many of the old primals may have already found their way forward and have made deep strides. With the pressure from the disaster, it won't be long before someone reaches that level. No, soon, it will be a competition to see who gets there first. No, we don't, Wang Wei nodded. The more reason we should do everything to prepare for the future, Qiyuan added. The meeting continued, as everyone discussed, planned, and strategized for the upcoming disaster and new age. The entire meeting took more than a month, leaving less than 5 months until the Grand Assembly. Once the meeting ended, the ancestors left, and everyone formed small groups to discuss personal things. Wang Wei looked around to find a group to join, and noticed the 9 paragons from the lower dimension formed their own clique. He was about to join them when Grand Elder Li Shengzong walked toward him. "I'm sorry to disturb you, but I have a small favor to ask," Li Shengzong said. "Go ahead," Wang Wei said with a smile. "How do I say this?" The clan was looking forward to Li Jun's arrival, but he was still training with the Yama Kings. "We have Li Wenling, who is also a great talent with enormous potential. I heard you have a few viable tokens for the mortalhood trial. I figure you were probably leaving them for Li Jun, but since he may not need them." Li Shengzong smiled, a little embarrassed. "You want a token for Li Wenling?" "That's right. And I would offer you something in return, but with your current stage of cultivation and your sect access, I doubt the clan has anything worthy of exchange. How about this? I'll give you the token, and when the disaster starts, the clan or Li Wenling himself must repay merit equaling the value of the token," Wang Wei said. "The disaster should have plenty of opportunity to gather merit, which makes this a fair deal. After all, although the token was meant for Li Jun and the Li clan, it was still his private property that the rules deemed he could do as he pleased. With the disaster, the ability to enter the Paragon realm at record time will become even more valuable with time. Wang Wei plans to slaughter a few people with the remaining 3 tokens." "That's fair," Li Shengzong nodded. So Wang Wei handed him the token before joining the others. However, as soon as he approached, he felt all 7 of them had a weird aura that perfectly synchronized. "So, you also have it?" Miscellaneous said. "I thought that after failing to summon you, it would not have any effect." Wang Wei remembered that Qiyuan once used an array to summon all the original great emperors of the Dao opening sect to partake in the Second Origin War. However, something went wrong when they tried to summon the 10th emperor, Wang Wei. "What is this?" Wang Wei asked curiously. "It's the result of the 13 Great Origin Emperor array. There are many benefits, like sharing strength, health, and even exchanging places during battle," Turtleshell explained. "It's the primary reason we survived the Second Origin War, and the ultimate taboo." Wang Wei focused on the strange aura between them, and he soon detected these abilities. However, he also realized there was more to this ability than met the eye. "This formation should not be only to link us, or even allow the ancestors to summon us to the past," Wang Wei commented. "We figured as much, but they never gave us a full explanation," Rainbow said. "Maybe they'll tell you," Miscellaneous added. "Maybe," Wang Wei muttered. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1548, The Truth About Battle Maniac. "You know, it's an honor to meet all of you. I grew up hearing your stories," Wang Wei said with a smile. "Haha, your tales are way more legendary than ours," Turtleshell laughed. "True. Now, you're more powerful than most of us," Miscellaneous sighed deeply. Wang Wei smiled politely. Among all of them, only Miscellaneous and Shadow Ruler had met one of the requirements to become primal, with the former being in the same realm as Wang Wei, and Shadow Ruler having met 2 of the 3 requirements. Turtleshell showed signs of reaching that level, but he wasn't quite there yet. Unfortunately, Rainbow and Hell Judgment were just peak paragons. "I would also like to thank you for sealing my identity as the Myriad Devourer," Wang Wei said. "It was the ancestors' decision. I just followed orders," Miscellaneous nodded. "Regardless," Wang Wei nodded. "This action might have saved him some trouble. There is something I'm rather curious about, but I don't know if it's appropriate to ask." "You want to know how we could travel through time without repercussions?" Turtleshell asked. "I want to know how you guys got away with it." Why don't you explain it? Miscellaneous wanted to roll at this guy's audacity. Since he answered the question, why not explain? Regardless, he still gave Wang Wei an answer. It started the same way for everyone. As soon as we ascended, we were given a strange cultivation technique and ordered to enter seclusion and not interact with anybody or anything from the outside world. The cultivation technique allowed us to summon our Tao imprint from the Grand Tao source and preserve it in a strange manner inside our sea of consciousness. Then, a magic circle appeared on the floor and teleported us through a turbulent journey through the river of time. Wang Wei listened attentively. Once we arrived at our destination, the ancestors ordered us to take out the Tao imprint, and they somehow used it to give us another identity. Another identity? I see, if you were technically someone else, then it removes the paradox of existing before you were born, Wang Wei commented. Exactly. While that makes sense, it won't change the butterfly effect of traveling to the past in the first place. Your very presence in the past could have created effects that prevented your birth, and more, unless your timeline was protected from any cause and effect. I really like talking to people like you. It saves me a lot of effort, Miscellaneous nodded gently. Wang Wei smiled. Was it easy to protect your timeline? No, it wasn't, Turtleshell replied. We were given a list of events that were supposed to happen to us. Occasionally, we would return to the present and ensure that these events occurred. Not to mention the time wraiths that would attack us on occasion. The entire situation was absurd. Our entire life was reduced to a checklist of things we were supposed to experience, but the entire thing felt like a sham, Rainbow said with a wry smile. We were lucky that we did not travel that deep into the past compared to Ancestor Li. Oh. By the time we ascended, it was the middle to end of the Second Origin War, and we traveled to the beginning of the war, which is not too long a period in the grand scheme of things, Miscellaneous explained. The Second Origin War covered the entire Chaos universe, making it probably one of the longest and largest wars of the Paragon Age. So, it was indeed a short period compared to Li Ming, who was teleported to the First Origin War. Did you guys regret doing it? Wang Wei asked. I didn't. Hell Judgment finally said a word. It made me who I am today. I don't think I would easily reach this realm without that experience. Me too, Rainbow nodded. Too much fighting for my liking, Turtleshell responded. He never truly enjoyed fighting, which is why his Tao is primarily focused on defense. I'm half and half on the experience, Miscellaneous replied. It was fine, Shadow Ruler said. I see, Wang Wei nodded. The six of them chatted briefly before Wang Wei talked to a few other people, trying to get to know them. Then, he left the meeting room to teleport to Qiyuan's Origin Mountain. The mountain contained a large white river with 3,800 pillars, each containing an aura of a unique Tao. At the center of the white river was a luxurious gold-white mansion, which was Wang Wei's destination. Qiyuan and Yan Hai were already waiting for him inside a simple room. Wang Wei found a cushion and sat down. How did you feel about your first meeting? Qiyuan asked. It was better than I expected, Wang Wei answered truthfully. Many of these elders were intelligent or had extensive experience, enabling them to analyze every situation in great detail. In the lower dimension, Wang Wei often had to take charge of meetings like this, leading most of the conversation. Now, he only had to give his insight a few times. You never had to because of how fast you grow and because I felt there was no need. But most elders must take an intense course in government and analysis after becoming a paragon. We design entire worlds for them to learn and gain experience, Qiyuan explained, having guessed what he was thinking. I remember reading about that, Wang Wei nodded. He saw that information in the introduction of the sect that he read. Such a program reminded me of the Imperial exam. That was one of the inspirations for its inception, Yan Hai said. Makes sense. So, why did you want to meet us? Qiyuan asked. During my retreat, I took a visit home and got some information that I wanted to share, Wang Wei said before sending the information about perfection, observer, and so on with them. Of course, he did not mention his conversation with Hong Jun, Anansi, and Yahweh. My theory was right. The last trial was all the failed experiments of the first transcendent. It was called the Observer? Qiyuan muttered. Do you think the reason Grand Dao never erased these flawed methods despite them not fitting the proper way of transcendence is because she feared it would make the Observer mad? Yan Hai asked. Probably. Grand Tao might be bold enough to use something that belongs to a higher entity, but it would not dare erase any part of it, Qiyuan commented. However, he soon frowned. The question is, how did our array summon these flawed records? Grand Tao should have them locked in a secure place. Didn't you already have your suspicions? Yanhai said calmly. Someone was using us as pawns. Their target was probably the entire record, but it failed in the end, summoning only the failed experiments or the discarded record. The question is who? Isn't it obvious? Qiyuan sneered. The Trinity Venerable, Yanhai muttered. I've always been suspicious of how that spirit became angry during that test and cursed Brother Li, Qiyuan said with gritted teeth. What are you talking about? Wang Wei asked. Oh right, you don't know, Qiyuan said. Originally, all three of us proved the Tao and became eternal. We grew together in the upper dimension and slowly established the sect. However, one day while traveling in primordial chaos, we encountered the inheritance of what we now know was probably a primordial chaos saint, maybe more. The Trinity Venerable? That's right. His legacy was all about spirit, essence, and qi, and it requires three people who are either linked deeply by blood or by cause and effect. Qiyuan was momentarily lost in thought. We needed two requirements before we could take the trial for the legacy, Yanhai continued. We met the first one due to our brotherly bond, and the second one was a significant amount of destiny. So, we returned home and started the First Origin War. All three of you? Wang Wei asked with squinted eyes. Yes, all three of us, Yanhai nodded. During the trial, the spirit became outraged because of something Brotherly did, and cursed him as a warning. We watched in horror as his timeline was forcibly altered. Instead of winning his heaven will battle, he lost and had to seal himself and compete again. What's more, he failed to become an eternal. Once he ascended, we had to use convoluted means to summon him to the past, ensure his growth, before we could take him to the trial, Yanhai sighed deeply. Forcibly changing the timeline of a paragon without any resistance? Is this the power of a transcendent saint? Wang Wei muttered. This was a plot all along, Qiyuan said with squinted eyes. The change in timeline was to create a paradox, a flaw in Grand Tao's system. Even the fact that Brother Li failed to become an eternal was probably a means to use his heaven will to access the authority of Grand Tao. And with the flaw, the Trinity Venerable wanted to summon the Observer's records and find a way forward, Wang Wei added. That's right. We used the legacy to summon the ultimate taboo, but ultimately, we were just pawns for a larger plan, Qiyuan said with a wry smile. Honger told me you learned the method of summoning people in the past from a deal with the Time Cardinal. Is that true? That's the explanation for how I summoned Brother Li to the past after the timeline was rewritten. Qiyuan replied before thinking of something. Are you saying? The Trinity Venerable is either in cahoots with the Time Cardinal, or he is strong enough to use the latter as a pawn. A tribunal saint, Qiyuan muttered with a wry smile. He had to shell all desire for revenge now. Have you guys ever checked your existence? Wang Wei suddenly asked. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1549. Marked, we did check ourselves with your artifact, Qiyuan nodded. And you didn't find anything? Not really. What about the actual technique? The artifact has certain limitations, Wang Wei added. Do you think your technique is easy to cultivate? It's not? No, you guys should have no issue learning it. You didn't tell us there was a requirement to have a transcendent foundation to learn, Yanhai said, almost rolling her eyes. There is? No, it wasn't like that when we learned it. I'm guessing Grand Tao already placed a limit on the technique to prevent me from spreading it, Wang Wei muttered. That technique has enormous potential, so I understand why it would do that, Qiyuan nodded. You guys wouldn't have this issue if you followed my advice and entered the dark truth to cultivate the perfect foundation, Wang Wei shrugged. Boy, as much as we trust you, do you think we will blindly follow your words? Yanhai sneered. You have no basis for your assumption that we will be fine. You saw nothing happen to Honger and me. We've studied the dark truth before you were even born. In its history, it's very common for people who are related to enter and only one to leave. No one has ever learned the criteria that determine a person's survival. All right, you make a fair point, Wang Wei stopped insisting. In that case, Why don't you let me take a look? The two paused before looking at each other for a few seconds. All right, Qiuan finally said, and Wang Wei's eyes glistened with joy. His eyes immediately glowed as he observed them intensely. He observed carefully but did not pry deeply into the meaning of the blueprint. Although these two trusted him enough to allow such an intimate action, he would not betray their trust by prying into their secrets. Well, that was what Wang Wei thought at first until he saw something related to him. He discovered something he had in connection with the two, which was the 13 Great Origin Emperor array and its function. The array's primary purpose was to establish a transcendent foundation. The concept of the array was the power of origin. The lower dimension sect is the origin of the Tao opening sect, the origin of Qiuan's rise to power, and the origin of his future success. It also means that all the emperors from the lower dimension possessed this power of origin. Qiuan's array would gather all 13 emperors of origin, and use their power of origin to condense a transcendent foundation. However, this was not the end. Wang Wei discovered that he would use the Trinity Venerable's legacy, which connected him to Xianxia and Battle Maniac, to share that foundation. Qiuan would also return feedback to the other emperors, but Wang Wei discovered that the feedback could only raise the potential of others and not give them a transcendent foundation. In other words, it's useless to me. Father, Wang Chong, Dong Lifan and Kai Song, Wang Wei thought. Well, it was better than nothing. Anyway, Qiuan's foundation was flawed since he failed to summon Wang Wei, and 11th to 13th emperors have not reached the peak of the Paragon realm yet. Besides this small part that Wang Wei pried on, he barely had a surface look on the other markings of the blueprint. He sensed he was missing something, but no matter how he tried, he could not find the answer. So Wang Wei used a bit of his transcendent luck, his perfection aura, and his power of nothingness to boost his ocular technique. There it is. You found something? Xianxia asked. The process of being observed was quite uncomfortable, especially since he was so closed and being so brazen. She forced herself to wait, but she was about to lose patience because of how long he was taking. Yes, there is something that does not belong. It's bad, and your situation seems even worse than my fate seed status. Qiuan frowned. Can you show us? Sure. Wang Wei touched their forehead to share his vision, and the two saw their blueprints for the first time. The entire thing resembled an art project created by a group of 2-year-old children who had accidentally stolen a marker. It's strangely beautiful, Qiuan commented. Indeed. Focus. This is the part I'm talking about, Wang Wei stated as he guided them to the anomaly he sensed. That feeling, it's indeed the power from the trial, Qiuan muttered, a dangerous light flashing from his eyes. You should have let me cut off that spirit, Xianxia said with gritted teeth, and Qiuan just ignored her. After that display of power, everyone was scared of that spirit, so she was just talking big. Boy, I know you. You must have found a way to remove this thing. What did you do? Xianxia immediately asked. I used the immemorial tribulation, but I don't think this method will work for you given how deeply entrenched the mark has been in your existence, Wang Wei replied truthfully. Damn it. Calm down. We still have hope, Qiuan said calmly. What solution did you think of? Have you forgotten the exchange list? There should be a way to address the situation, or at least mitigate its impact. And if that doesn't work, well, head to Paragon Fall. Wang Wei remembered reading about Paragon Fall from his wife's library. It's a dangerous area in primordial chaos that is constantly raining lightning. The interesting thing about that zone is that it has all types of lightning, including the one used for the immemorial tribulation, and even more potent ones. That zone is considered the heaven of lightning cultivators. However, many people believe there is a great secret deep in the zone, forcing countless paragons to rush to find it. Unfortunately, no one has returned from going deep into that zone, hence the name, Paragon Fall. All right, Xianxia sighed deeply. Thank you for this, Qiuan said. No problem, Wang Wei nodded. Although he has many flaws, one of his good qualities is his belief in reciprocity. Many people like to deal with him because they know they will gain something in return. Wang Wei might take most of the proceeds, but they will also benefit. When it comes to his family and close friends, Wang Wei has always been even more magnanimous. One more thing. I acquired 3 new soul quintessence techniques during my trip, but I can only show you 2 of them due to their nature. However, you will need to wait a while until I process these techniques. Grand Tao can be a bitch about things from the prehistoric world. The room was immediately silent, baffling Wang Wei by their reaction. What? Is something the matter? So you went into retreat and casually learned 3 transcendent techniques? Yanhai asked. Well, yes. You. She was so frustrated thinking about how much effort they had spent to acquire a few flawed methods. However, since they returned, this kid acquired 4 complete techniques in less than 100,000 yuan epochs. Yanhai exhaled to calm herself. She looked at Qiyuan and said, with every passing day, I understand more why you made that decision. Qiyuan chuckled. You would think you would stop questioning some of my sudden decisions after living together for so long. He smiled at Wang Wei. We have no issue with waiting. Good. Well, I have some last-minute preparation before the assembly, Wang Wei said as he slowly stood up. We know you're going to see my daughter-in-law, Yanhai said with a smile. She gave him a thumbs up. Good job, kid. Wang Wei's lips twitched. He decided to ignore her. By the way, what happened to Dong Lifen? Why can't I sense her in the sect? An accident occurred during her ascension, Yanhai replied. She was directly teleported to a hidden dimension with a fortunate encounter. However, after she passed the trials, she was teleported to another source chaos world. I sent someone to take her back. Is that so? Wang Wei muttered with a frown. What is it? I have a bad feeling about this. How about you send more people? I can go if that will appease your mind, Yanhai suggested. It's probably not a good idea to leave the world anytime soon. Let's send the newly condensed proxy avatars, Qiyuan suggested. All right. What about her husband? Wang Wei asked. I sensed his comic line. He's one of the top talents of his generation, having awakened one of the purest bloodlines, Yanhai explained. That's good. Well, I'm off, Wang Wei said. Wait, don't forget to hand over your Grand Mist World, Yanhai reminded. One of the resolutions/preparations for the disaster was the Grand Mist Plan. All Empyreans and above cultivators will hand over their Grand Mist World, and the sect will link them together to increase the manufacturing of creation lives as soldiers for the disaster. This plan has been a common tactic among top lineages in the upper dimension for some time during times of war. Linking all the Grand Mist Worlds together boosts the number of creations one world can produce individually, and increases the chances of the creation life forms from passing their tribulation. Additionally, the world can form a network that the sect can loan to individuals for cultivating. Empyreans and above can boost their speed of cultivation by linking their mind to the soul of all the lives in their world. However, with the network they will have access to thousands of worlds. Unfortunately, the array used for this tactic is expensive to operate, especially since it must protect the souls of their cultivators from being influenced by the multitude of minds. Otherwise, it would have become a common tactic used even in non-war times. All right. Wang Wei nodded before teleporting away. He handed his Grand Mist World before teleporting away from the sect. Unlike what Yanhai believed, he was not going to see Wu Hong. His destination was an old place with some history. The non-causality heaven. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1550. The chessboard. Wang Wei has some karma with this place called the non-causality heaven. He once found a Dao Lord who was trying to enter the Paragon realm secretly, but he died and was turned into a karma puppet. Wang Wei stole the puppet and used it to improve his karma-unbound physique. This place should have remembered me, so let's be careful, Wang Wei thought as he entered an invisible state with his power of nothingness. He also isolated all his causality to prevent this area from detecting him. He headed straight into the depths of this zone before summoning a chessboard. Anyone glancing at the board wouldn't be able to tell if it was based on Western chess, Go, Xianxia, or any of the chess games in the Eternal Ascension world. Wang Wei observed the board and nodded in satisfaction. His clone did an excellent job of using the Karma Jinx stone from his grandmother to refine this artifact. The last step is the pieces, Wang Wei thought. As he sat cross-legged in the void, with the board floating before him, he started drawing the power of the non-causality heaven to condense numerous circle chess pieces not bigger than a fingernail. Exactly 3,800 chess pieces were condensed on the board before something else started happening. Characters slowly materialized on the chess piece at the center, and it was the word for Kong. The chess pieces around the central one then changed to represent the characters of Lin Fan and Su Shi. Wang Wei hesitated a moment before condensing a piece 4 by Han. Wang Wei checked there were no issues before condensing more names. Most of the people he had met and had some karma with appeared as chess pieces, including figures like Ying Zhang and the Heavenly Serpent Empress. Should I add the ancestors? Besides his wife, the people in his sect were the only ones he did not condense a chess piece for. I don't need this to influence them, so better not. If his actions are discovered, it could complicate things, so it was better not to do it. Plus, he did not need the board to mobilize the power of his sect. Wang Wei's gaze then shifted to a group of pieces with vague characters. These names were all the primals of the other factions. While he had dealings with their faction, Wang Wei had never met them personally, or formed deep karma with them. The assembly is the perfect time to condense these pieces, Wang Wei thought. He put the board inside his sea of consciousness, but he did not immediately leave. Instead, he condensed a new clone and handed him the negative karma from his time as the Myriad Devourer, tasking him to refine another weapon. Only did Wang Wei leave and return to the sect. He wanted to see his wife, but figured she was busy. So, he decided they could communicate with a raise when she had time. A few months passed quickly, and it was time to head to the Qin dynasty for the assembly. Is this really necessary? Wang Wei asked as he looked at this white gold luxurious chariot with drawings of 3,800 unique beasts. These events are all about face and fanfare, so yes, we must make a grand entrance. My origin chariot has never failed to gather attention, Qiyuan smiled. You think this is too much? Wait until you see how those stupid gods will show up, Yanhai sneered. I always figured you were the showy type, Wang Bo commented. I can be in a showy mood, but am more about being low-key most of the time, Wang Wei shrugged. After you, Qiyuan motioned with his hand. I've told you guys to stop to know your status. In the cultivation world, seniority is really nothing, Wang Bo sighed. It's never a bad idea to show the young ones an example of respecting their elders, Qiyuan smiled, staying in his position. That's why this kid is my new favorite. He doesn't care how much I've done for the sect, Wang Bo complained as he slowly entered the chariot. Qiyuan and everyone else gave him a look. Don't listen to him. I've shown plenty of respect, Wang Wei denied, his lips secretly twitching. This bastard. I bet he's secretly cussing me now, Wang Bo's voice echoed from the inside. That damn old man, Wang Wei cursed. If not for the current situation, he would have beaten him up. Qiyuan did not say anything and slowly entered. Yan Hai's eyes were practically shining with glee. Yan Shirong followed after her, but it was apparent he was trying to contain his laughter. Miscellaneous and Tang Song, an elderly array master with blue robes with runic symbols, pretended they hadn't heard anything. Meanwhile, Shadow Ruler was as silent as ever. Wang Wei entered after Yan Shirong, followed by the others. Once everyone was inside, the symbols on the side of the chariot became alive, condensing into phantoms indistinguishable from real creatures. Then, these rare and mythical creatures started driving the chariot, making the entire expedition even more grandiose than it was. The interior dimension of the chariot was obviously extended, allowing everyone to have their own room. The other elders secluded themselves, but Wang Wei, Wang Bo, Yan Hai, and Yan Shirong started drinking and talking together. Is that your chaos brew? It's been a while since I've had a taste, Wang Bo commented as he swallowed the contents of his wine bowl in a gulp. By heaven, the taste is better than I remember. The last time you had was before you sealed yourself, Qiyuan said as he slowly sipped. I've improved the refining process more than a dozen times by now. You first brewed this after what happened to Li Ming, right? You wanted to drink your problem, Wang Bo said as his wine cup automatically refilled itself. I know you blame yourself, but there wasn't anything you could do then. Wang Bo remembered the state Qiyuan was in when he woke him from his seal to talk. I know, Qiyuan nodded. After that conversation with Wang Wei, he understood what happened to Li Ming was a plot. It could have happened to either of them. Li Ming might have just been unlucky. I'm glad you overcame that mental barrier, Wang Bo nodded before looking at Wang Wei. Kid, why aren't you saying anything? Isn't the wine to your liking? Wang Wei glanced at him before continuing his own thing, which was enjoying his wine and observing the outside. His action made Wang Bo laugh boisterously. Kid, don't you know how to respect your elders? Do you want me to take out the bamboo? Yan Hai threatened. However, Wang Wei just rolled his eyes at her and ignored everybody. You! All right, Qiyuan calmed her down, and Yan Hai snorted coldly. After everyone was inside, the chariot teleported to the outskirts of the Qin dynasty's territory before flying toward the central domain. Wang Wei used this opportunity to check the situation of the dynasty. Things were nothing like what he expected. Firstly, he saw signs of his mortal civilization. Everywhere in the dynasty's territory, enlightened mortals can be seen, and even if they have not awakened their spiritual powers, their bodies have been modified to be healthy and live a long life. Wang Wei was not surprised by this outcome, as he had expected these factions to steal his idea. However, he did not expect Qin to incorporate so much of his civilization into their rules. Wang Wei even saw some mortal military using Tier 9 power armors. The second thing that surprised Wang Wei was the culture. The Qin dynasty played a crucial role in China's history. It served as the transition from feudalism to a centralized government, making Yingzhang one of the most famous emperors in modern history. However, the Qin dynasty was not without critics. That period was known for its harsh and strict laws. For example, the punishment for stealing was chopping the culprit's hands, no matter the amount of money involved. Additionally, the Qin dynasty is famous for its anti-Confucian stance. Yingzhang is infamous for banning and burning books, and killing Confucian scholars. However, Wang Wei saw too many literary scholars in many places in the territory, many of whom hold high positions of power. Well, it makes sense he would change his views. Yingzhang supported legalism and rejected Confucianism because the latter had too much power in the court and among the people. However, in the cultivation world, Yingzhang now had godlike power, meaning no religion or ideology could threaten his power. So, it was in his best interest to use these ideologies as tools to rule and improve his dynasty. The journey took 3 days before the chariot reached the capital. A small battalion of soldiers dressed in black armor waited outside the capital, led by a woman in blue official clothes with a hat. Everyone slowly descended. "Welcome to Great Qin," the officer said with a bright smile. Wang Wei looked at her and recognized she was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Peak Paragon, Fan Shifeng. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1551. The Great Wall, Mistress Yan Hai, Fan Zifeng bowed. Shifeng. Yan Hai nodded. Before Shifeng joined the Qin dynasty and climbed her way to the top, Yan Hai once supported her. Although they cut off their connection because Fan Shifeng wanted to show the human emperor her utmost loyalty, she still respected Yan Hai for all the help she provided. Lord Qiyuan and Lord Yan, Fan Shifeng muttered, her voice laced with a little bit of unnaturalness. She couldn't help it. Yan Shurong used to be weaker and of a lower generation than her, but now he was a primal, and she was still stuck in the same realm. Yan Shurong nodded. He never dealt personally with Fan Shifeng, so he did not feel too uncomfortable due to their sudden change in status. Fan Shifeng controlled her emotions before saluting everybody else. She had to pause before recognizing Wang Bo. Her rise was during the Second Origin War, so it took a while to remember the old vital figures of the Dao opening sect. And you must be the rising star of this generation, Wang Wei. A pleasure, Wang Wei said calmly. You are so young and handsome, Fan Shifeng muttered. So I've been told. Interested in marrying a Qin princess? You can pick your share. Thanks for the offer, but I'll have to decline. Why? You must know the Qin princesses are some of the most beautiful women in the world, and you can pick any of them, Fan Shifeng insisted. I'm married to the Dao, Wang Wei replied. This woman was obviously trying to get some information about his relationship with Wu Hong. Married to the Dao? I think I'm going to use that from now on, Qiyuan chuckled. How much nonsense I could spare myself if I could use the excuse of being married to my sword. Yan Hai shook her head. Being married to runes doesn't have the same appeal, Wang Bo laughed. Fan Shifeng observed these people for a moment before putting on a business smile. It's a shame, but I respect your choice. Now, let's get back to business. Fan Shifeng straightened up her posture. According to the Assembly Covenant, I'm here to announce in advance that we will deploy the Great Wall for this assembly. These words immediately made Qiyuan raise his eyebrow. Is this necessary? Strict security is always required during these assemblies, but no one ever goes as extreme as the Qin Saint Court. His Majesty feels there might be a chance that someone might attack the assembly, so he has chosen the highest security level to ensure Qin's reputation, Fan Shifeng explained. No overlord faction would accept the great shame of something going wrong during an assembly. So, the human emperor's caution makes sense logically. After all, for these factions, a bad reputation can decrease their faction's qi luck. I understand. Qi Yuan nodded. Good. Will you use our accommodation, or make yours? We will make our own. No problem, Fan Shifeng nodded, not surprised by this choice. In the history of the world, not a single faction has ever accepted the accommodation of the lineage holding the assembly. Fan Zifeng motioned for them to enter, and the team slowly walked through the entrance in the wall. The Qin's capital was called Ancestral Dragon City, and it was surrounded by an immense black wall more than 33,000 feet tall. And as Wang Wei walked through the entrance, he had a feeling this wall could become even more towering. What's the Great Wall? Wang Wei asked. This world's history was long, and he still hasn't learned everything in detail. Although he has heard these words before, and not just from Earth, he wanted to know more. It's a luck artifact of Qin, Qi Yuan explained. It's primarily famous for two events. First, it saved Qin from destruction during the Devil's Conquest by protecting the capital for more than 100,000 yuan epoch. Qin had lost all its territory except the capital, but Yingzheng held on with the help of the Great Wall. They killed so many devils during that battle. I believe it was after that fight that Heavenly Dao started considering him for the human emperor position. It was that important? Wang Wei asked. The primogenitor devil might have sucked at using his artifact for his personal strength, but he was a master of using it to cultivate his devil subordinates, Wang Bo commented. True. Qi Yuan nodded. He had previously crippled most other factions before focusing on Qin, wishing to eradicate it. By standing alone for more than 100,000 yuan epoch, Yingzheng bought everybody else enough time to recuperate from the previous heavy blow. Is that so? Wang Wei muttered. What's with your tone? Yan Hai asked. I realize that I have been looking at Yingzheng with so much suspicion that I may have not given him the credit he deserves, Wang Wei revealed. You should never underestimate your opponent, Qi Yuan warned. I know that, Wang Wei nodded. He wasn't a young cultivator who needed to learn such basic lessons. It's just that he had some inherent cognitive bias about Yingzheng, which he had not completely removed. Anyway, he has always looked at Yingzheng as a major threat. So what's the second event that made this Great Wall famous? It once helped us block a hole in the Hong protective system, Qi Yuan revealed. The system had a hole? The early version was not the best since Wu Hong did it just to repay her karma, Yan Hai explained. And even later on, after she upgraded it, there were a few times we had to concentrate on defeating our home world. Wang Wei nodded. The group did not immediately set up their resting area. Instead, Miscellaneous and Tang Song discussed the most appropriate location to set up camp. The capital was divided into 5 regions: the palace, the military district, the noble district, the commoner district, and the commercial district. With their status, they could get a temporary lounge in the noble district where officers and nobles of the dynasty live. However, it was too close to the palace, which made it the worst place to make a temporary base. The palace and military area were out of the question, leaving the commoner and commercial district. Ultimately, the team decided on the commercial zone. The team bought a mansion, and Miscellaneous, Wang Bo, and Tang Song immediately started laying out arrays. While these people were at work, the remaining people were strategizing inside the reception room. What do you think of the Great Wall's deployment? Qi Yuan asked, sitting comfortably on a cushion and drinking tea. Yan Hai and Yan Shirong sat next to him, but Wang Wei was standing, looking out of the window. Their excuse is sound, Wang Wei said. Oh, we know the disaster is most likely an invasion from entities of the old ages. Since it's an invasion, they must have sent reconnaissance troops to gather intelligence and sabotage any form of resistance. But you don't think this is the main reason for deploying the Great Wall? Qi Yuan asked. No, my gut feeling is Yingzheng is going to make a great move at the assembly. And then what? Take us hostage if we disagree with him? Yan Shirong asked. Maybe. Does he dare do that with a primordial saint attending? You put too much faith in one transcendent sage, Wang Wei rebutted. Are you implying Ying has a means to deal with Mithraea? Yan Hai asked. Wang Wei did not answer, but waved his hand to isolate the surroundings with his power of nothingness. Hong Jun gave him a piece of a transcendent artifact, and I don't really know what level it is, but it's ancient and powerful, Wang Wei revealed. According to myths, the jade butterfly pendant was Hong Jun's accompanying artifact when he was the Destiny Chaos Demon God. Although Pangus Axe attack destroyed it, the fact that it survived in any form is an indication of how powerful it was. That's why Wang Wei was slightly convinced that Hong Jun might be able to deal with a weak transcendent saint if he can bring out the power from the piece of the artifact. That information changes many things, Qiyuan frowned. Ying Zhang's threat was far greater than he had anticipated. You should have told us this sooner, Yan Shurong added. Wang Wei looked at him, but did not say anything. Yan Shurong was technically correct, but Wang Wei did not regret his decision. He decides the value of the information he has and when to reveal it, and before now, it was in his best interest to keep this news to himself. We need to re-evaluate how we approach the assembly, Qiyuan said. It will not change things as much as you think, Wang Wei said. Ying Zhang is operating under the belief that Mithraea is at the bottom of strength among primordial saints, but that should no longer be the case. Qiyuan sighed deeply after hearing these words, not even hiding his dejection. Their sect used to be one of the most powerful voices in the assembly, but for this one, the only one who truly mattered was Mithraea's. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1552. The Cliche plot. Wang Wei understood how Qiyuan felt, but he did not appease since he made the wrong choice during the ultimate taboo. Someone should have sacrificed themselves for the future of the sect. Wang Wei guessed that Qiyuan ordered a few peak paragons to be the sacrificial pawn. However, based on the fact that only Mithraea and Supreme Unity successfully acquired a method, it's apparent that only the most talented individuals were qualified to fight for a flawed method. Sadly, all those top talents were too arrogant to accept such a path, and even the ones who could control their pride ultimately failed in their attempts. The transcendent path was not for everyone, and Wang Wei believes this is a lesson that many of the primals from both the old and new generations will learn soon. By the way, how is your negotiation with the Sword Path League? Wang Wei asked. I've signed an agreement with them, but they said they needed time to prepare my reward, Yan Hai replied. You didn't hand over the destiny before receiving the reward, right? Do you think I'm stupid? Just checking, Wang Wei said. Yan Hai snorted. Honestly, I was hoping I would get the reward before Heavenly Tao officially revealed the exchange list. The Sword League has no reason to believe you've made a bad faith deal with them based on your previous behavioral patterns. But even if they do suspect something, you'll be fine as long as you gather the merit faster than they can react. I understand that, but I feel the exchange list might complicate things, Yan Hai sighed. True, Wang Wei nodded. The exchange list is the ultimate variable, so he understood her worry. Well, I'm going to experience this city. Going to see your wife? Yan Hai teased. Wang Wei looked at her speechless. You do know that even if we're engaged, it doesn't mean our lives revolve around each other 24/7? Whatever you say, Yan Hai replied, her eyes indicating that she did not believe his words. Unlike you old people, I'm young and inexperienced, meaning I haven't seen what this city has to offer, Wang Wei explained before disappearing from the room. Did this bastard just call me old? Well, you better watch your words, Yan Hai snapped, and Qiyuan immediately swallowed his words. Yan Shurong, on the other hand, pretended he hadn't heard anything. Shurong, come and play civilization chess with me, Qiyuan said, trying to run away from his trouble. It's been a while since we last played. All right. Wang Wei walked in the streets full of beautiful buildings of a variety of colors. Ancestral Dragon City was a cultivator-only place despite most of the Qin dynasty's population being mortals. Recently, there has been an increase in mortals wearing power mortals, but their population is less than 1% of cultivators. Unlike the calm and peaceful commoner district, the commercial district was as lively as a circus. Almost everything can be found, from bathhouses to the Red District, to gambling, monster hunting, and stone opening. I'm feeling lucky, so let's open some luck stones, Wang Wei muttered before heading to the stone opening area. As soon as he stepped into the area, Wang Wei's lips twitched. He discovered more than 100 methods of suppressing luck, destiny, divination, karma, calculation, or ocular techniques. Sometimes I feel the cultivation civilization of this world is too advanced, Wang Wei complained. Events like this are the time for protagonists to make a fortune, but he has to fight for his life. He shook his head before browsing around. There were hundreds of tables with dark blue stones of various sizes. People would use numerous methods, including strange ones like licking the stone, to detect whether they have treasures. Wang Wei's eyes glowed as he used his technique to fight against Qins. I want this one, Wang Wei said to the vendor, pointing to a rigged stone the size of a basketball. Customer, are you sure? This stone doesn't look like much. How about trying this one instead? The vendor, a middle-aged man in black robes with a greedy look in his eyes, said. Here is the money, Wang Wei said as he handed him a space ring with the correct number of Dao sources. Pleasure to do business with you. Would you like me to open it for you? No need. Wang Wei tapped the stone and the outer shell collapsed, revealing a brown tree root pulsating with green energy veins. A life-stealing root? The vendor exclaimed before his eyes flashed with greed and jealousy. However, he swiftly controlled himself. This was the Qin dynasty, where the laws were strictly enforced. Additionally, the way the customer casually opened the stone was a sign of the latter's terrifying strength. Luck stones are created using an ancient technique from the Tribulation era, with the sole purpose of preserving things. That period was turbulent, so this technique was used widely to preserve resources and legacies for the future. The stone's exterior was created to survive immense power, and a delicate process was needed to remove the shell without affecting what was inside. Yet, this customer did it so effortlessly, a sign of his strength and control. Do you want to buy another one? Wang Wei ignored this man and everyone who was staring. The life-stealing root was a Tier 12 material sought after by alchemists and individuals who cultivated wood and practiced the Devour Dao. Its value was 3 times what Wang Wei paid for the rock. The second rock he opened contained a small amount of gold merit, which placed a deep smile on Wang Wei's face. However, even more people were not paying attention to him. One more, Wang Wei thought before observing around. He ignored the people following him around. He soon had his eyes on a rock and walked over. However, immediately after touching the stone, someone else reached out to hold it. Wang Wei was immediately excited, thinking he was about to experience a face-slapping event. He turned to look at this small villain, and his excitement increased. Handsome face, noble atmosphere, luxurious but low-key robes, peak paragon cultivation, 2 followers, a squinting eye and a silent shadow type, and finally, a hidden arrogance. This man was the perfect villain template. Young sir, may I have the honor of paying for this stone for you? Said the charming villain. Oh, why would you do that? I like to make friends. It turns out to be the plot of friending the protagonist for him to help the prince ascend to the throne later on, Wang Wei thought, a little disappointed. With one look at this man, he could tell he was a Qin prince. What's more, he could already foresee fate's machination. This prince was probably tired of his father, who had absolute power over the dynasty for billions of years. He appeared before Wang Wei because fate thought he might be an interesting pawn. Well, let's see if he will be valuable, Wang Wei thought. A new name appeared on the chessboard in his sea of consciousness. Yongrui? What an interesting name. The prince's first name meant to be forever blessed, to be eternally lucky. Wang Wei wondered if he was worthy of his luck. As it turns out, I also like to make friends, Wang Wei smiled. That's good to hear, Yongrui nodded before paying the vendor. Wang Wei opened the stone, revealing what resembled a white core with red grass growing on top. Numerous eyes were on this thing, but everyone had a puzzled look. Friend, I consider myself knowledgeable, but I don't recognize what this herb is. Do you have any idea? Yongrui said. I also have no idea what this is, Wang Wei replied. But let's check. His eyes suddenly glowed silver as he channeled the power of fate. A smile crept on his face a few seconds later as he placed the herb inside a conjured jade box before putting it inside his dimension. How fortuitous, Wang Wei muttered. His divination revealed that Yan Liling can use this herb to create a pill that helps people recondense their gate of ascension. Although he didn't need it, This herb can become a crucial material for the sect if Yan Liling can successfully reproduce and plant it. Ying Yongrui desperately wanted to ask, but he saw Wang Wei had no interest in speaking, so he controlled himself. The squinty-eyed follower wanted to say something, but the prince warned him through divine sense. "Friend, how about a meal?" "So direct, huh?" "Well, why not?" Wang Wei smiled. "I have a reserved room at the Dragon Phoenix restaurant." Dragon Phoenix restaurant? That's a rather arrogant name to have in a place like this, Wang Wei commented. Dragons and phoenixes were the symbols of emperors and empresses. The owner used to be the royal chef a long time ago. After he retired, the human emperor blessed him with that name, Ying Yongrui explained. "In that case, I can raise my expectations for the food," Wang Wei nodded. He hopped in Ying Yongrui's chariot as they headed to the restaurant. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1553. A quiet but intense negotiation. Wang Wei and Ying Yongrui had a normal and regular conversation while eating great food. Although not on the level of his wife's, the food was top tier. Ying Yongrui was a charming man and a great conversationalist. Wang Wei was a chameleon, able to mold himself into anything for the situation. So, the two enjoyed chatting with each other before departing. Ying Yongrui stayed in a well-decorated red and blue room, calmly watching Wang Wei leave. His two followers immediately entered. "Your Highness, is this really a wise move?" the squinty-eyed follower asked. "My father has started to suspect something. I need to throw him off," Ying Yongrui said calmly. "But won't that make your situation worse?" "Now is the worst time for something to happen to a prince as famous as I," Ying Yongrui said. "More importantly, my father has become extremely confident recently. He operates with the mindset that everything is under control, including me. So, I should be safe for a while." "If you say so, sir." "Black Dagger," Ying Yongrui called. "I'm at your service," said the quiet follower. "Go find the Grand Historian to see if he knows what herb my new friend found," Ying Yongrui ordered. By now, the news should have spread, meaning countless people were searching records to find the answer. "As you wish." Black Dagger disappeared from sight, and the squinty-eyed one remained quiet. Ying Yongrui looked through the window, deep in thought. He was playing a dangerous game, but he had no choice. He wants to sit on that throne, and that damn controlling father won't even allow him to build his own dynasty in another source world. Wang Wei had a thoughtful look on his face. The prince tried his best to act normal and hide all his information. In fact, Wang Wei could not see anything from him, but that alone revealed a great deal of information. Something tells me the power involved has nothing to do with Ying Zheng's jade butterfly pendant. In other words, this prince is some foreign transcendent faction's pawn. Things are getting interesting. Wang Wei looked around. After that meal, he suddenly wanted some entertainment, especially the battle arena. However, as soon as he had this thought, Wang Wei took a mental pause despite not physically stopping. Someone has manipulated luck to direct me to the arena. Interesting, Wang Wei thought. He had an inkling who was behind this, so he did not hesitate to allow fate to guide him. He soon reached a black pagoda and entered. The beautiful receptionist asked him if he was a competitor or observer. Wang Wei wanted to be entertained, so he bought one of the best rooms. He received a token that immediately teleported him to a luxurious room. The token released a screen to show him the available battles. There was no peak Paragon battle, but a few Paragon battles were going on, so he chose one. His room changed, and Wang Wei found himself in a private room that separated itself with an invisible film, with an enormous arena on the opposite side. The crowd screamed while the two contestants fought inside a potent magical barrier. Wang Wei conjured a lounging chair to relax as he watched the spectacle. The battle was between a loose cultivator and a lava spirit. With a single look, Wang Wei could tell the loose cultivator would lose without any unexpected variable, so he bet on the latter. He also ordered the most precious wine in this establishment to enjoy himself. The battle proceeded as he expected, and Wang Wei casually received his reward from the pagoda's spirit. While waiting for the next match, he suddenly sensed something, and his eyes penetrated the pagoda. "The Tao Beginning Palace is here," Wang Wei muttered. A group of Taoists flying on beautiful clouds with sounds of the Tao following them rushed to the city's entrance. They had 2 leaders in the front, with 3 others at the back. Wang Wei squinted. The first thing he noticed was a new primal from Taoism. Secondly, he also recognized the other leader. Absolute Beginning. Has he returned to power? Well, Taoism needs all the help it can get. Wang Wei's focused to the people behind. It seems that girl is doing well for herself. Zhan Biyu was part of this delegation, which was odd given that her cultivation was only 94%. Zhan Biyu used Taoism's weakness after the war to rise in the ranks and take power. It seemed she had not lost that power even after the ancestors returned. He did not focus too much on Taoism's arrival since there was not much to pay attention to. The second match soon began, and Wang Wei placed his bet. Ultimately, he was still correct. "You're late," he suddenly said as he swirled his wine cup before taking a sip. "So you were expecting me?" said a deep voice. "What do you think?" Wang Wei replied casually. "Do you want to sit?" He conjured another seat next to him. "No need," Yingzheng said as he stood straight, with his black robe with perfect embroidery of a yellow dragon that appeared to come alive if you look at it closely enough. "I'm sorry about my son," Yingzheng said in his deep, authoritative voice. "As a parent, sometimes we can do our best, and it's not enough." "I don't have children myself, but I can understand," Wang Wei nodded. The room then plunged into an intense silence for a few minutes. Yingzheng remained calm and stoic, while Wang Wei continued to enjoy himself. "I came to make a deal with you." "This should be interesting," Wang Wei smiled. "However, you're wasting your time if you're here regarding my half of the nether hell." "No, that's not it." "Then, is it about Hongwa's location?" "My response is the same. I have no idea," Wang Wei added. "Not that either." "Oh. Now I'm intrigued." Yingzheng did not immediately say, and Wang Wei did not rush him. On the contrary, he acted as if he had all the time in the world. "I want your support for a proposition during the assembly," Yingzheng said slowly. "Well, that's unexpected. What proposition?" "You don't need to know. You only need to sign a binding agreement that you and your sect will support me." "Do you really expect me to agree to this?" "And even if I wanted to, it appeared you wanted me to represent the sect." Wang Wei looked at him as if he was a fool. "I know you can be persuasive if you need to," Yingzheng replied, his eyes remaining focused on the arena. "I want to hear you're going to make me agree with such a unique request." Wang Wei decided to be nice and not call it stupid. "War is quite an interesting thing, isn't it?" Yingzheng said. "I have my fair share of experience in conducting war. Let's say I was invading a place. Do you know what one of my main priorities would be? Eliminate any threats that could impede my conquest, especially if that threat has the potential of a Grand Tao Saint." That bastard did remember how Wu Hong sealed supreme unity, Wang Wei thought. He calmly sipped his wine. "So, this is blackmail instead of negotiation." "You don't have to see it that way," Yingzheng stated. "My proposition will benefit everybody. I'm only doing this out of cautiousness." "So you say," Wang Wei sneered. "What do you say?" "It's a great deal. You benefit from my position, and in return, I keep my mouth shut." "Aren't you afraid of being labeled a traitor?" Wang Wei asked. "By who?" Yingzheng scoffed. "Everybody is preparing to work together to survive this disaster, while secretly planning how to weaken their competitors. The ironic part is Heavenly Tao, the entity who should be encouraging unity, is also encouraging this discourse." Yingzheng was right. Heavenly Tao wants to use this disaster to reshuffle the board, while also wishing for some factions to survive this disaster and rise to the occasion. These goals appeared mutually exclusive, but they were not entirely. It's possible to achieve as long as Heavenly Tao plays its cards carefully. "Do you need time to think it over? I can come back tomorrow." Mutually assured self-destruction is an interesting concept, Wang Wei said. "I coined the term myself, but the concept is deeply ingrained in the fabric of the cultivator world. The weakest cultivator knows to try to take their opponent with them when they are on the verge of defeat or death." "What are you trying to say?" Yingzheng said as he finally glanced at Wang Wei since he entered the room. "When most people analyzed my information, they usually focused on my talent or my mind," Wang Wei said while looking at Yingzheng with a grin. "They rarely noticed why I'm truly dangerous. My power of fate." My ability to peer into the veil of destiny and my capabilities to deduce from the smallest information are a scary thing. So, tell me, Ing Zheng, do you think our invaders would be interested in your little artifact? A shock flashed deep in Ing Zheng's eyes, but he remained calm, with no change in facial expression. Yes, I'm talking about the one you probably received from your first life in the prehistoric world. A mighty aura leaked from Ing Zheng's body before it quickly retreated. You keep your mouth shut, and I keep quiet. Do we have an understanding? Ing Zheng quietly looked at him before disappearing from the room. I'll take that as a yes, Wang Wei muttered before sipping his wine. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1554. The chessboard's role. Ing Zheng sat on a black throne surrounded by a profound darkness created by his terrible mood. He was reading a scroll intently, which contained a detailed analysis about Wang Wei. It contained information from the lower dimension, but all the events he participated in or is suspected of being involved in. He was right to say people don't focus on his divination ability, Ing Zheng thought. However, can I really trust his words? Ing Zheng was perfectly aware that Hong Jun would not just give up after him, and if the latter could reincarnate one person, he could reincarnate others as well. He's been keeping an eye out for signs of people from the prehistoric world. What are the chances of two people being reincarnated in the same world? Probability-wise, it was low unless someone was controlling it. However, Ing Zheng knew he was not supposed to be in the eternal Ascension world. He came here after deducing his transcendent path was in this place. Since I can predict early on the rise of the eternal Ascension world, Hong Jun can do an even better job. It would make sense for him to send a pawn. Ing Zheng paused as he realized something he had overlooked. He focused his attention on the information about Wang Wei's heavenly court. I should have caught it before, Ing Zheng thought with an ugly expression. The way Wang Wei set up his court was eerily similar to the stories Ing Zheng knew about the Jade Emperor and his heavenly court. Back on Earth, Ing Zheng was once obsessed with immortality and searched everywhere for it. He studied myths and legends, learning about the immortals of the past. Unfortunately, it wasn't until his death that Hong Jun summoned his soul that he finally contacted extraordinary powers. Now that I know he's one of Hong Jun's lapdogs, I must eradicate him, Ing Zheng thought. A deep killing intent flashed in his eyes, turning the throne room a deep shade of red. After many years of caution, planning, and due to a fortunate encounter in the ultimate taboo, he was now confident he had absolute control over the jade butterfly pendant. Ing Zheng planned to become a primordial chaos saint before confronting Hong Jun, possibly even reclaiming the entire pendant from him. But now, he knew one of the latter's lapdogs might be in his territory, trying to get him to succumb to Hong Jun. Ing Zheng dismissed the scroll in his hand before sitting straight. For the next 2 hours, he remained still, thinking only about his enemy and his future. This new revelation has altered some of his plans, so he has taken this time for a more thorough analysis. What's the result of the investigation? Ing Zheng suddenly said. The herb is an extinct material called the core grass. It was used for body refining pills, primarily for the opening of the gates, a deep voice responded. It doesn't sound too valuable, so why was he so excited? Ing Zheng muttered. Keep searching to see if there are any secrets to this herb. As you wish. Go investigate my second son to antagonize his elder brother. I need to give him something to do so he doesn't ruin the assembly, Ing Zheng ordered. The prince title of Qin is not based on birth. After all, Ing Zheng had too many of those. It's decided on strength, and unfortunately, Ing Yongrui has kept the first prince position for too long, which has gotten to his head. Yes, Lord. Wang Wei sighed as he looked at the battle in the arena. He's probably going to figure it out. Many people have already figured out he was reincarnated because of how he acts and the things he created in the lower dimension. These people are not stupid. It's one thing to have a few wonderful ideas, but something entirely different to have so many, and on top of it all, these ideas and concepts have already been perfected upon their initial creation. The only logical explanation is that those ideas are from another civilization who have already perfected them, and Wang Wei translated them to fit this world. With Ing Zheng's suspicious nature, he will start analyzing Wang Wei, and it's only a matter of time until he figures out the truth since Wang Wei has left too many traces, especially in the lower dimension. However, he did not regret his choice. It's a worthy trade to protect Hong'er. Plus, Ying Zhang and I were destined to clash anyway. This just raises the stakes. Wang Wei sipped his wine. The battle suddenly became interesting, and he was about to leave when he sensed something. It's good to see you. Someone slowly ascended from his shadow. Red Mask bowed. How are you? Master, did you forget about me? Of course not, Wang Wei said, his body shifting slightly uncomfortably. Then, why haven't you summoned me? Wang Wei coughed lightly. I knew you should be receiving the feedback from my cultivation retreat, and decided not to bother you. Plus, didn't I assign you a task? Red Mask looked at him, but did not say anything. I've shifted to all the memories. And the majority are useless and a portion contains useful knowledge, mainly about skills and techniques. No useful intelligence? Our divination has indicated that most of the intel was events that have occurred long ago, rendering them useless, Red Mask reported. However, we found a few secrets about fortunate encounters in primordial chaos, and 2 of them have been verified to still be useful. I'll give you a proxy avatar. Give him the coordinates and he'll check these areas, Wang Wei immediately said. He figured if he did not act sooner, that bastard Heavenly Book might take these fortunate encounters. Very well. Do you have anything to report? Wang Wei asked. A plethora of things, Red Mask replied, not hiding the accusation in her tone. I'm listening, Wang Wei said, ignoring her complaint. The initial integration of the Stealer's knowledge into our guard has been successful. Since then, our operation success has increased by 37%. That's good to hear, but why is it only the initial integration? It takes time to train people capable of learning the new fate-stealing technique, Red Mask explained. More importantly, my talent is limited, and you need to perfect the technique. She handed him a talisman not only containing the fate-stealing technique, but also a detailed explanation of the new training program she created for the Fate Shadow Guards. No problem, Wang Wei nodded. Now for the main report, Red Mask continued. The pre-March Origin Temple has been uncharacteristically quiet. Meanwhile, the tribal sacred mountain is preparing for full-scale war. When you say war, do you mean with the temple? That's right. They've disguised it as preparation for the disaster, but subtle signs indicate it's to fight their old enemy. So the tension is rising, Wang Wei muttered. He wondered whether they would start fighting before the catastrophe or wait after. Our people have detected a secret meeting between the Divine Faith Heaven and the Limitless Exchange Hall. There are talks of a secret alliance. You've actually got such valuable news? It's way easier for our guard to steal a person's fate and their identity, and many previous detection methods that used to work on us are now useless, Red Mask explained. It seems I did not fully realize the value of Jimin's thief Dao, Wang Wei muttered. Who initiated this alliance, and how far have the talks gone? The Divine Faith Haven initiated it. The Limitless Exchange Hall is open to the idea, but they want to wait after the assembly before making a decision. It seems those weaker overlords are starting to feel the pressure, and decided to band together, Wang Wei analyzed. He squinted his eyes while sipping his wine. We can't allow them to ally. I can assassinate one of the negotiators and leave subtle proof that another overlord did it, Red Mask suggested. No, that's too obvious. I can make it look like someone from these respective factions that do not want the alliance, Red Mask suggested. Unless you could impersonate one of the primals, your plan would only delay the alliance, Wang Wei shook his head. Red Mask had run out of ideas. While the Lord Shadow technique was magnificent, it only reached the Paragon Peak realm. The ancestors have tried with no success to upgrade it, meaning she cannot access that power until Shadow Ruler becomes a primal, or one of the ancestors becomes a primordial saint. Don't worry, I have a better idea, Wang Wei smiled before summoning his chessboard. He glanced at the chess piece with Tong Rubing's name and pointed at it. Far away, in the Skill Path Association's territory, Tong Ruobing, who was waiting for the result of the assembly, suddenly had an idea. Wouldn't it be great to ally with the Limitless Exchange Hall? These loose cultivators are always in need of resources, and the one thing their association never lacked was resources. Professionals require raw resources to refine them into pills, talismans, arrays, etc. However, the process of finding these raw resources can be dangerous and time-consuming. The best solution would be to have a large group of people collect raw resources in exchange for a small portion of the final product. The disaster is coming, and forming such a strategic alliance will benefit both sides, Tong Ruobing thought. After mulling it over for a while, she left her room to see someone to suggest this idea. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1555. The Unification's Importance. Wang Wei smiled. Between the Skill Path Association and the Divine Faith Have, which one was a better ally for the Limitless Exchange Hall? The answer was obvious. These gods are dreaming if they think they can escape their eventual fate. After the assembly, the association will start discussing an alliance with the Exchange Hall. Use your people inside the haven to antagonize these two. Make it look like they want to stop the alliance, before revealing the haven's plan was to swallow the Exchange Hall all along. Wang Wei did not want a situation in which these three factions formed an alliance, so he needed to muddle the situation between them. I understand, Red Mask said. Wang Wei observed his chessboard. The way the idea was implanted was kind of sudden, which can make some people suspicious. It would be better if I could implant them in their subconscious, and it suddenly appeared at the appropriate time, just like a sudden epiphany. Wang Wei raised his arm to release a golden glow as he slowly fine-tuned this artifact. The process only took him about 2 hours, but he was satisfied with the final result. You can continue. Wang Wei suddenly felt a shift in the universe. No, it wasn't just him, but everyone in Ancestral Dragon City. This feeling, Wang Wei muttered before looking in the distance. All the laws between heaven and earth suddenly became agitated before lowering their sense of presence. It was like a lion king suddenly appearing before its flock, and everybody quieted down due to its sheer presence. Methreya, Wang Wei muttered. For people slowly approached the city. Methreya was walking while happily chatting with her 2 disciples, Monk Wuzhu and Feng Heng. Another primal thread behind, keeping a respectful distance. Another new one, Wang Wei thought. Both Buddhism and Taoism previously had 3.5 primals, with a half part resulting from the acquisition of the luck and destiny of ancient Taoism and Buddhism, and condensing them into a powerful protective artifact. Although limited to only being used when these religions are in great peril, it was still an advantage. However, now, they both acquired a new primal. Which other factions have recently cultivated new primals? Wang Wei suddenly asked. Besides us, only the Origin Seal continent, Buddhism, and Taoism, Red Mask responded. No more? Are you sure they are not hiding it? I doubt that. The disaster is coming, so it's most advantageous for them to improve their luck and destiny, Red Mask responded. Our information has revealed many people in retreat trying to achieve that level, but only the 4 have succeeded so far. Is that so? Lord, why the sudden interest? It's only a matter of time before primals become as common as dogs, Wang Wei explained. However, currently, the fact that only 4 factions have succeeded is a manifestation of luck. Buddhism and Taoism benefit from Methreya and Supreme Unity's existence. Our sect receives the benefits for successfully summoning the ultimate taboo, and the Origin Seal continent is riding on Wu Hong's talent and potential. Once these people realize this, all eyes will be on the continent. I could take the identity of a peak paragon of one of the overlords and fake ascending to the primal level. That could buy you time, Red Mask suggested. Her duty was to help her lord and offer solutions. No need, Wang Wei rejected. With his mastery of luck Dao and enough preparation, he could fake the birth of a new primal. However, such a plan requires too much preparation and carefulness to execute, making it too easy for something to go wrong. More importantly, the disaster will start in less than 30,000 yuan epoch, meaning these factions won't have time to be staring at the Origin Seal continent. And if push comes to shove, hell do something to distract them. Wang Wei took one last look at Wuzhou and Feng Heng. A slight jealousy flashed in his eyes. These bastards had access to the best time acceleration array in the world, and now, their cultivation was the same as his. All right, what were you reporting? The Grand Sect Alliance has been on the move. They were the first to arrive, and every time a faction arrived, they openly visited, except for us. Are they trying to gather support to pressure us about the exchange list? What a pointless endeavor, Wang Wei sneered. The Grand Sect Alliance has always considered the Dao opening sect their greatest threat. Maybe not entirely, Red Mask added. One of their delegates is from the Een Moon Palace. So their target is Kong? No, not just Kong but Methreya. They want to see how much she's willing to protect him, and maybe even how much power she will exert in the meeting. Methreya might be the most powerful entity in the world, but she's also a king's soul. Without enough support, it's not impossible for the Grand Sect Alliance to use her kindness to get her to back down on certain topics. I'm guessing Dugubatian showed up himself? He's the one leading all the meetings. That bastard has always viewed himself as a domineering but charismatic leader, Wang Wei sneered. In hindsight, the way Dugubatian views himself is true. Only with his strength and charisma did he successfully convince so many factions to join and accept him as their leader. However, while Dugubatian is responsible for the creation of the alliance, he is also its greatest weakness. As long as something happens to him, the Grand Sect Alliance will crumble from internal contradictions. Everybody knows this and is waiting for an opportunity to remove him from the equation. In fact, there may even be some people within his alliance who are scheming for his demise. Keep an eye on these alliances, people, and report back if you learn something new, Wang Wei ordered. I will personally oversee their mission. No, your task is to keep an eye on the Qin dynasty. The human emperor is planning something, and I need to know as much information about his court as possible, Wang Wei said with a strict expression. Understood. Is there anything else? Yes, there has been trouble in the unions recently. Oh. It's about the human fiend god bloodline, Red Mask revealed. The heaven-opening paragon has refused to share the secrets of that bloodline with the other two primals. At first, this was an issue. After all, it's the Wang clan's property and they can do as they wish with it. However, after our clan started to focus on bloodline, and seeing the initial success, the others became suspicious that the Wang clan had secretly reunited. Wang Wei could not help laughing after hearing this. Who would have thought Wang Gua would have shot himself in the foot by stealing my idea? That's what you get, you lucky bastard. Wang Wei exhaled before putting the wine to the side. Has he denied it? Privately? Yes. However, they are still trying to keep things under wraps. These factions have spent countless years preventing the Wang clan unification, not because we would have won more primals, but because unification represents a complete and perfect bloodline and destiny. However, some things are inevitable. But everyone knows that whoever of the clan can cultivate a transcendent sage will achieve this unification. No, he squinted while caressing his chin. They believe unification will increase the chances of cultivating a primordial chaos saint. I was wrong in my assessment that unification was not that important. Wang Wei had a gentle smile plastered on the corner of his mouth. This is excellent news, but how can I make full use of it? Should I use the chessboard on Wang Gua? No, ideas are useless in this situation. The Union's primals are not stupid. No matter how they feel about the Wang clan, they will not allow the latter to escape their grasp. But what if the Wang clan had an additional primal? Such an idea might be preposterous to anyone else, but Wang Wei had a trump card, the nurture card. As long as he finds the right talent, he might be able to nurture them into a primal. No, even finding the right talent does not guarantee success. The twin success was a manifestation of their talent and Wu Hong's luck. So, until Grand Dao increases the world's primal destiny, allowing more people to achieve that title, this plan will not be as successful as Wang Wei wants. What about a flawed primal? Wang Wei thought. As long as this person has that level of strength, it doesn't matter if they have some other flaw. The flawed primal is the way forward, Wang Wei thought. He could use this idea for his plan toward the All-Seeing Temple and Grandma Ju. The Union is already here, right? They arrived before us and are living in the royal district, Red Mask revealed. They are as snobbish as ever, Wang Wei sneered. Here is the plan. I'll visit Wang Gua, and he'll probably refuse to see me. But as soon as I leave their compound, you need to slowly spread rumors about the Wang clan unification. Don't make it too obvious. Red Mask frowned. Lord, I don't mean to question you, but isn't it too obvious what you're doing? Everyone would think you're just fanning the flame. One flaw of smart people is they often overthink things, Wang Wei smiled. These people know I'm smart and wouldn't use such an obvious plot. Then, they will overthink, become suspicious, and come to a different conclusion. Our goal is to make things more difficult for Wang Gua, and slowly isolate him. This is just the first step. I understand. I'll prepare immediately. Red Mask nodded before disappearing into Wang Wei's shadow. All right, let's go see the ancestor, Wang Wei smiled. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1556. Political Games. Wang Wei stood before the myriad clan union's mansion, calmly waiting. These people didn't even invite him inside and allowed him to wait in a separate room. Normally, such rude behavior was enough for Wang Wei to make a scene or cause a diplomatic issue. After all, he was a grand elder from the Dao opening sect. However, he remained calm and composed, waiting to be notified. Luckily, he did not have to wait long before a man dressed in green, with peak paragon cultivation from the Wang clan came to see him. Wang Wei looked at this person, and with one glance, he saw through him. The latter had a seal on himself to hide the secrets of his bloodline, just like Wang Wei and the members of the sect. Unfortunately, that seal was useless in front of his existence observation technique. In the end, Qiyuan's path was the correct one, Wang Wei thought. The Wang clan's bloodline has long evolved from the innate demon god that Wang Guo infused in his body. After so many years of evolution and improvement, the bloodline can be said to be a unique one that belongs to the Wang clan. Unfortunately, it did not change the fact that the origin of this bloodline was foreign. Under normal circumstances, the fact that only 0.001% of this bloodline was foreign posed no issue. Until Wang Guo stole Wang Wei's idea and wanted to elevate the Wang clan's human bloodline to be on par with fiend gods. Such a difference immediately complicated the entire process. If your blood is not completely human, how can you condense a human fiend god bloodline? Wang Wei could tell that the other Wang clan probably have many problems during the awakening process. What's more, the other clan did not seal their blood at birth, meaning failure to awaken occurred while in the womb. And that's just one of the many other issues. The rules of balance indicate that the more potent a bloodline, the harder it is for them to reproduce. By sealing the clan's bloodline and forcing everyone to experience a bloodline awakening, Wang Wei has successfully preserved the human's part of the bloodline for higher reproductivity. Meanwhile, Wang Guo's branch did differently. The rules of their unions encouraged their members to have as many wives as possible to increase their chances of having children. They've created potions, arrays, and other means to increase the productivity of their clan members. The bloodline is called Human Fiend God, with the human part in front to show its importance. Meanwhile, it appeared Wang Guo only wanted an fiend god bloodline disguised as a noble human bloodline. Now, I understand why Qiyuan separated from the other clan. The Wang clan's division might have started because of the fight over leaving imprints in the bloodline for others to revive. But the actual reason for the divide was a divide in ideology. Qiyuan believed the clan's obsession with bloodline was the wrong path, but Wang Guo thought it was the future. After so many years, it was apparent that Qiyuan's path was correct by how many primals they have and the fact a talent like Wang Wei was born into their clan. However, the most critical thing is Wang Wei's human fiend god bloodline was the perfect way to breach these two opposing ideologies. Grand Elder Wang Wei, the man bowed. Director Wang Xiang. Wang Wei nodded. The union had a system based on directors, secondary and tertiary directors, which was similar to sect master, grand elder, and elder. He had read the history of their union, and Wang Wei remembered director Wang Xiang. He was famous for convincing more than a dozen foreign bloodline clans to betray their worlds and join the union during the Second Origin War. I'm sorry to say, but the ancestor had an epiphany and entered seclusion, Wang Xiang said with a gentle smile. Really? Wang Wei asked. Your timing is sadly unfortunate, Wang Xiang continued. Is it possible for me to wait for him? I mean, he can't stay in retreat for long if the assembly is about to start. That is true, and under normal circumstances, we would welcome you with open arms, Wang Xiang continued. However, you heard what the Qin court said about a possible attack? Our union is currently on high alert to prevent anyone from disturbing the ancestors' retreat. You understand how rare epiphanies are at such a level. The last thing I want is to disturb the ancestors, Wang Wei smiled. In that case, I'll take my leave. But would you pass on a message for me? Wang Xi's lips twitched. He then asked with a fake smile. What would that be? Tell him I expect reciprocity for the gift I gave him, Wang Wei said. He could not have Wang Guo think he was trying to scheme against him. So Wang Wei must make his visit seem like he was acting out of pettiness because the latter had stolen his idea. This bastard. Wang Xiang cursed. He understood how much these words would cause, especially the word gift, which he guessed was used on purpose. He also knew he needed to say something, or who knows what would happen. Well, I'll take my leave. Thank you for the hospitality. I wish the ancestor success in his retreat, Wang Wei said before bowing in one fluid motion, and then turned around to walk away. I'm so glad their clan is not benefiting as much from my idea, Wang Wei sneered. He was still unhappy with how Wang Guo had utilized his powerful cultivation to discern his bloodline and steal his idea. The help he received at that time was insignificant in comparison. At some point of the unification, Wang Guo's branch must be trained to remove their pride, arrogance, and excessive reliance on their bloodline, Wang Wei thought. The groundwork has been set, and all he has to do is slowly isolate Wang Guo. The union is ruled by 3 clans: Wang, Shao, and Yi. But the Yi clan is a soul clan, meaning they are the only non-human clans in the union with a primal. For many years, their clan has been suppressed and bullied by the Wang and Shao clan, but now with suspicions on Wang Guo, things will become interesting. The Shao primal won't easily abandon the trust and rapport he's built with Wang Guo and make friends with the Yi clan. I need something to cause friction, Wang Wei thought. He first thought of the issue with the celestial race, but that has long been dealt with. The deal he had with Wang Guo was that the union would not punish the celestial race for their supposed betrayal, and from what Wang Wei knows, the issue was dealt not long after all the ancestors returned. Let's just wait and see. Maybe an opportunity will come. If not, I'll analyze their situation and manufacture one, Wang Wei thought. He stopped worrying about these things and focused on enjoying himself. Where should I go next? I heard Qin's red light district is famous for cultivating some of the world's best courtesans, Wang Wei thought. But I'm a soon-to-be married man with a scary wife. I can't just visit a brothel, can I? If he knew he could get away with it, he would have done it. After all, he wasn't going there to sleep with the women, but to experience and appreciate their beauties, and more importantly, their art. Damn it, why does this woman have such a wrap around me? Wang Wei cursed. It was humiliating for a man whose pursuit is freedom not to do something because he's scared of his wife. I'll just do it. What can she do to me? As soon as he said these words, he felt a chill run down his spine. Let's not find out. Wang Wei had a pained look on his face. He really wanted to go. How about I ask her permission? Yes, that's a good idea, he thought before writing invisible characters in the air that turned into a talisman that disappeared in the void. He received a reply a few seconds later that said, "The Qin's courtesans are indeed world-class, and it's been a while since I last heard one of their works. I'll be here soon so we can watch together. But record anything interesting in case I'm delayed." That's my girl, Wang Wei smiled. What's healthier than a couple enjoying a brothel together? I knew I chose the right woman. Wang Wei headed to the red light zone with a happy stride in his steps. He searched for the most famous one, leading him to a place called the Pure Art Blue Mansion. To Wang Wei's surprise, so many people were lining up to enter, and he was almost barred from entry until he showed his cultivation and status. Then, someone gave him a private room. He also learned about a legendary courtesan called the Butterfly Princess, who would share a piece for the first time since the Second Origin War. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.